to everyone joining us for the January 4th Lee Selectmen's meeting. Reminder to everyone that the meeting is being recorded. We ask everyone to stay muted until you're recognized. And if you'd like to be recognized, at the bottom of your screen, go to the reactions button and click on raise hand, and we will call on those. We are all set, Madam Chair.
I believe we are. So I'll call the meeting to order. Bob, are you here?
I am, thank you.
Oh, thank you. The first order of business is the open session minutes of December 21st.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from our December 21st meeting.
I'll second that. And all in favor?
John Renier, aye.
Pat Carlino, aye. Okay. So we have two public hearings tonight. The first one being an application for a new license for the Avocado Cafe Inc., doing business as Avocado Cafe at 5 Railroad Street. Is anyone here for the applicant? No?
Yep, I believe we do have someone here. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so Bethany Ralph.
Bethany?
Just need to unmute yourself, Bethany.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Carrero, this should be here also.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see
Yep,
him
so we see
in
him.
the gallery.
He is
Oh,
here
yeah.
as well. Yep.
Okay.
I'm here.
There he is.
Okay. All right, so this is an applicant's application for a new license within the town of Lee. As I said, for the Avocado Cafe, doing business as Cafe Inc., doing business as the Avocado Cafe. It's pretty straightforward, and Mr. Carrera has everything necessary that was asked for, and the fees have all been paid. I just have one question. I ask this every time. Are you aware of the TIPS program, Mr. Carrera?
Of the TIPS program? No,
Yeah.
not really.
Okay, we do ask all of our restaurants and liquor holders, establishments, to have someone in-house that is TIPS certified. I think that's a Massachusetts thing. It used to be taught at BCC. I'm assuming it still is. And as far as I'm concerned, I would give you the time to do that and get that certification. And if you need help, sorry, if you need help, we'll find out where it is and when it is.
Patty,
Yeah.
there's also, most people are doing them on an online
Online?
course.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know who they're doing them through, Cindy?
I don't, but our next people have given me one, so we can find out where they got theirs. The
Okay.
next license we're doing.
All right. So depending on if the other board members have any questions about that? About
No.
the
Can
hours?
you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear Bethany Ralph?
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Does TIPS stand for something?
Yeah, but I can't remember what it stands for.
It's
Okay.
training in suppression or I don't know, Chris, do you remember the acronym? I forget off the top of my head, but it's something like that.
It's a bartender certification.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we can find out for you where it's available during this time. And Cindy's right, you can do it online. But we do ask that the manager or the people working there have TIP certification that'll be serving drinks, bartenders. Okay, Bob, Sean, any questions on this application?
No.
No, I was going to ask about the tips as well, Patty. I'm trying to look up the the correct acronym for it, but I think you could just Google search it and get some information on it.
Oh,
You just type in TIPS, they'll give you a million different choices,
Right.
I believe.
well, we can get that information, Cindy, and have it available for either Mr. Carrera or his or Bethany.
Yes,
I'll
I
find
can
something.
probably find it.
Okay. And as you can you can let us know when it is, and I mean, if it's tomorrow, we don't expect to have it done, but you know, make like 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm looking online now, and looks like there are dozens of them, and
Okay.
they specify the state and cost for the course and that sort of thing.
Okay. Did you hear that, Bethany?
Yes, I have that.
Okay.
I'm a little unclear as to whether I should be raising my hand and reacting or just speaking.
Oh, okay, well, I think though that's probably the only question we had. We always ask that for every new owner and every license
Okay,
holder.
that won't be a problem.
I didn't think it would be, but we will get you the information, or you can call us if you've got it and let us know.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll let you know when they're signed up for it.
That'd be good.
Okay.
If there's no more questions, Sean or Bob, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
Yeah, Patty, I'd make a motion to approve the license certificate for the Avocado Cafe for an all alcohol license, with the pending the tips certification. I think we just want to see that, and then we'll be all set.
Okay.
Are we not approved until we get the tips certification?
Well, you're not approved until the state approves you
Right.
anyway.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
we would assume that you probably would work on that between now and then.
It
Okay,
usually
so they-
takes a few weeks for the state to come.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a motion to approve the license for an all alcohol license to the Avocado Cafe.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Sean Renier, aye.
Bob Jones, aye.
Pat Carlino, aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And so now the next application we have is, rather than a new license, it's for a transfer of license. And it's the transfer from Chez New, known as Cafe Triskelly, to D&G Hospitality, LLC, doing business as Cafe Triskelly. Is there someone here on behalf of these people?
Yeah, we have, the applicants are here, and I just
Okay.
asked them to unmute, and I believe their attorney as well is here.
Okay.
I would
Welcome.
be glad to begin this. If you want to read the legal ad.
If you want. Do you want me to read the legal ad? Oh, no, that was in the paper or just on our sheet?
Whatever your protocol is.
This is just a transfer of a license between two entities. And it's all filled out, it's paid for, all the questions are answered, and you are already tips certified, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'd like to introduce, if I can, for the record, my name is Lori Robin, the attorney representing the applicants, D&G Hospitality LLC, whose principals are Rebecca and Gilbert Clerget. They are coming to our community from the Washington, D.C. area and have wonderful experience in the hospitality industry and have purchased the business now known as Cafe Triskelly, and will continue to do business there at 150 Main Street. We filed the application. It's a transfer of liquor license. And Gilbert, who will be the manager, is tip certified. And if you have any questions, glad to answer the questions. Rebecca and Gilbert are here with us.
Bob, Sean,
No, I don't have any questions. I think we just, I didn't see the tip certification in the packet.
I think it came separate, Sean.
I gotcha.
Came
Okay.
After, I think Cindy sent it to us separately.
Okay.
Bob,
Oh, no questions.
okay, I don't have any questions either. I just would like to say welcome, good luck. Got a big job under your hands, especially now, but we wish you the best of luck.
And we'll all be there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please do
Okay.
it. Come and see us there.
So if there are no other questions, I would ask for a motion to approve this application for transfer.
I'll make a motion to transfer the license to Cafe Triskelly from Chez New.
Okay,
All right.
yep,
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
Bob Jones, aye.
Sean Renier, aye.
Pat Carlino, aye. Again, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're up to public comments. If we have any.
Patty, can I ask a quick question? Patty,
Sure.
can I ask a quick question before we move on?
Yeah.
Both of the licenses have what they call an LLA. It's from the local licensing authority, you guys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that form has to go into the paperwork. Can I use your stamp on those for each of these licenses?
You can use mine as long as it's okay.
Yeah, they don't care how it's signed.
Okay.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
my
fine.
stamp should work as well. I'm fine with that.
Bob?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Chair, I do see one hand from Kathy Hall.
Okay. Well, now's the time, Kathy.
All right. I'm clicking on all these little buttons. I have two things. So, public hearings. I thought that during this time, people that were attending could ask questions or whatever. Am I mistaken? Should we have written ahead of time if we had a question?
No, you probably could have just raised your hand.
You know, but you addressed it just to the select board. You didn't, address it to the public. My only thing about the licenses, how many licenses do we have in the town of Lee?
Oh, that I don't know. What?
I said,
Did you
is there a limit to how many licenses?
I do not believe we have a limit.
Okay.
There's a limit on
Absolutely.
liquor stores, but
Yeah,
not,
I was just
gonna
on,
say, yeah.
not on
Okay,
restaurants.
but not
No.
for restaurants. Okay, just concerned about that. My only other thing is the ice skating. Oh, it's not quite ready. I did meet with Chief Brown today. We went down and looked at the ice. It's still a little bit shaky, it's still wet because there are gallons and gallons of water that need to freeze over. But we're hoping that maybe sometime next week, people will be able to use the rink. But for now, stay off because it's not ready yet. So
I was just going to say, so if it does get ready within the next meeting, before our next meeting, I'm sure you'll let Chris know so that he can add it to the website that it's ready to go.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll notify the schools and ask them if they can do a shout out with their communications. So people.
Okay.
Will. All right. But for now, we have to stay off of it because it isn't ready. The edges are still, you can see the water. It
Yeah.
isn't iced over yet. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. So the next item on our agenda is the master plan / open space and recreation plan, which we put off from a couple of meetings ago so that we all could discuss it. And
We may have
we
had
should-
one other comment, Madam Chair.
Oh.
Sorry, I just saw, well, the hand is down now, but Colleen, did you have something? Colleen Henry?
Oh,
No.
Yes, actually, I just have a question for Kathy Hall about the ice skating. I want to make sure that she sends me a notice about it so I can include it in my newsletter. That's all I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
I
and
can
maybe
send Kathy-
Kathy. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. We would definitely get it on Facebook, our page, and the community page. Certainly get it to the schools, as I said, and to Chris Britton, and also to you, Colleen. Thank you. We will make sure that people know when it is ready. Thank you.
okay, thank you. All right, so we'll turn back to BRPC and their proposal they've given us. And when we first discussed this, Bob, you had a question about using BRPC. So I know Chris did some legwork here to find some other towns and what their costs were as to going out to a private consultant on it. Does everybody have that information?
Yes.
Okay. And the only one that wasn't on here was Lennox, who just did theirs, I believe, last year. And their cost was about 70,000, give or take a few, because of some revisions they asked to have done. So
Did they use BRPC?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other ones, just as a clarification, that I provided were towns that didn't use BRPC.
Right.
The most relevant one right now is Williamstown,
Right.
which I think was 179 with a private consultant, and then there were some from further
Right.
east. And I did want to mention too that we do have a representative from BRPC here. If you
Oh, we
have
do.
any questions directly, Tom Matusco is here. If you have any questions.
Chris, I have a question.
I'll turn it back over to Patty for that, but.
Oh,
Patty?
okay. Yes.
What did North Adams pay when they did their master plan about 6 or 7 years ago?
I have
Because
no idea.
if we could find out, I think it'd be very valuable. You know, looking at what that master plan has accomplished, it's now becoming manifest. And if that could happen for Lee and we could expedite it, it would be marvelous.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if Tom knows if they did that
you
one
know
or
that-
not.
yeah.
Yes, we worked on the North Adams master plan, and it was part of a larger grant. I don't remember the exact cost, but I think it was about $100,000.
Okay, thank you. And population of North Adams? Here.
About
35?
12,000 people. It's the smallest city in Massachusetts, actually.
Right. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Thanks, I appreciate.
Okay. So I don't know, Sean, Bob, if you have anything you want to say at this point in time.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Patty.
All I was going to say is Berkshire Regional Planning Commission for our county is where normally we go to have all these types of studies done in different things. And as you can see, well, at least that's why they're cheaper, because they work for the towns and cities that are in their area. And that didn't surprise me to see Williamstown and the other towns at the prices they're at. So I just wanted to say that. So what, you got questions?
I have a few questions. First of all, Chris, thank you for doing the legwork that you did looking into the other towns. Williamstown is over $170,000, and my understanding is that is not for that is just for a master plan. Is that correct? Not for a open space and recreation plan. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah, that's just the master plan. What we're looking at is a master plan and revisions that are needed for our open space and recreation, doing them concurrently.
But I mean, Williamstown is paying over $170,000 just for a master plan. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So my question is, and I asked this completely out of ignorance, why would Williamstown choose to spend $170,000 on a master plan with no open space and recreation plan, rather than go with Berkshire Regional Planning? That's just, and I ask this not as not any kind of implied criticism. I just am interested.
Yeah, I don't know the specific reasons. When we kind of reached out to anyone who had recently done one that didn't use a regional planning agency, just for some background information, but I couldn't tell you the specific reasons. It looks Tom may have some information on that. Yeah.
Yes, I did ask Williamstown, and we had a discussion with Williamstown about, doing their master plan, and the response was that given the situation that they've had with their police department and some of the other things, that they felt that it was better to get an outsider than someone from the county. They had a lot of internal dissension going on in town government.
Oh, okay. I got that.
We are assisting on various aspects of the master plan as well. We're working on what's called a housing needs assessment that will be a component of that. And we are also working on some elements of their open space aspect of the master plan. So we're part of it, not part of that, whatever the number that Chris raised, but we're doing that through another contract we have.
May I continue, Patty?
Of course.
So Tom, maybe you can help me out here. I was just elected this past May, and I've gotten a number of phone calls about the application from Berkshire Regional Planning, and their interest in working on the master plan and open space plan and recreation plan. And there's quite a bit of consternation. You mentioned that there were conflicts in Williamstown with the town government. Well, Lee might be another example of a town that is divided on certain issues, and one of them being, of course, the PCB dump. And Berkshire Regional Planning was an integral part of that coming to fruition, at least the approval of that plan. And so maybe you can answer the question that's being asked of me, and that is, why would we hire Berkshire Regional Planning to work on our town plan and our open space and recreation plan, when in fact what we've done, the last project you worked on for Lee is proposing a toxic waste dump for this town? That's a question that's being asked of me, and maybe you can answer it directly.
Excuse me, Tom, I want you to answer that question, but I just want to speak first in stating I'd have to disagree with you, Bob, on the point that Berkshire Regional Planning had no yes, no, maybe on the actions of the Municipal Rest of the River Committee. They facilitated our questions. They answered our questions. They facilitated our meetings, took minutes, yada, yada. They had no input on the yes or no.
I just see
I see one program having nothing to do with another program. And that's
okay. Well, I understand that, Patty, and there's no question. You're absolutely right in that. On the other, and I understand that they're acting as planners or facilitators for the various town boards and the different entities that were part of that agreement, and they were just facilitators. But
right.
What I'm hearing from, and again, the question comes, and I'm looking for this answer. They were still part of a process that many people, most people in Lee, regard as unfair and done without the input of the citizenry. and that the whole process was flawed. So they're including Berkshire Regional Planning in that. And I'm telling you what I hear, because the only reason I'm sitting here in this meeting in this position is because the people who put me in office. And
I
so,
understand.
and so I'm looking for, why, maybe Tom can answer for us more directly the role that they played, but more directly, why didn't Berkshire Regional Planning? Did anybody step up and say, this is a bad idea for Berkshire County? This is a bad idea for Lee. I'm looking for clarification so that I can answer to my constituents where Berkshire Regional Planning stands on this.
And just as a follow-up, it was not their place to do that. Just so you understand that. They had no exact wishes in the program. It was just to guide us. And this is not a discussion we should be having at all. So Tom, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be glad to address that. And I think as it was stated, that we were the facilitator and the technical assistant to that project. And we would do the same thing if we were chosen as the consultant for the town of Lee on the master plan. I mean, how we approach planning projects such as this is that, we look at the facts, existing conditions, trends. We get opinions, from the people, the advisory committee. If you looked at the proposal, you'll see that there's a heavy public outreach component to this project, and turn that material into the desired outcome of the body that makes the decision. And that's what we did with the Rest of River Committee. The body was the Rest of River Municipal Committee. That's what we would do if we were working, chosen as the consultant for this project.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I absolutely hear what you're saying, and I'll leave it with this, and then I'll let members of the public or anybody else have their say. And that is this. The people of Lee feel that they have been used and abused. They've been left out of a process that's going to bring a toxic waste dump to a town of a little over 5,000 people. And Berkshire Regional Planning was part of that plan. We're feeling betrayed and damaged. And I understand that you're just a facilitator, but whether it's a toxic waste dump or a nuclear reactor or a glue factory, everybody who was part of that process, people in Lee are very leery of engaging once again with any organization or individual, quite frankly, that was part of that process. And I'll leave it at that. But
well, Bob, if I might add something, I mean, we did not seek to submit a proposal here. We were reached. I didn't quite honestly know that the town had appropriated the money for these plans. We were asked to submit a proposal, which I did. I think you raised a very valid point that I think the town of Lee is really too valuable to let our role corrupt what could be a very important public process. I think we can do it. I think we can do it fairly and justly, but if our role is going to corrupt the master plan process, then I really urge you all to think very carefully on this decision.
Thanks, Tom.
thank you.
Madam Chair, just to let you know, we have 3 hands. They were up in this order of Jim Castagnaro, Claire Leahy, and Kathy Hall, in that order. If you wish to get any public comments.
Okay. You want to go with, who was the first one? Jimmy Castagnaro?
Jim, yeah.
Okay.
Lose him.
Jim, you just need to unmute if you haven't done so. I don't hear you yet. let's see. I guess we could go to Claire then, who has her hand up.
Okay, I'm not muted, correct? You can hear me?
Yes.
We're all set.
Okay. You mentioned that, Tom, I'm just addressing you for a moment, please. You mentioned that you were a facilitator and a technical advisor to the rest of the river committee. What was your function as a technical advisor to the rest of the river committee?
Well, EPA puts out a number of documents that have been coming out regularly through the entire process. And my staff have reviewed those documents for a number of different aspects and provided comments that we would then, forward to the committee for their action.
Now, you are still facilitating the rest of the river committee, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you helped us do our last open space plan.
That's
you were
correct.
a facilitator for that.
We actually did the master
And
plan
in that-
too a long time ago. Yeah.
The open space and recreation plan, which I worked on with you, you made many recommendations as a technical advisor about the dangers of tree cutting and the very, very valuable ecological area that we were as a town. And you put into the study all the information that was available to the Berkshire Regional Planning Board into that report, information that we as a town committee did not have. Now, I reviewed that very carefully and have been conscious of it as about the ecological part as well as the recreational, and been working on the youth commission with the recreational end. The ecological part, all the threats to our environment is causing me to want to switch gears here and go to the Conservation Commission, because I don't think we're following that plan. And this has been a gross crime. What's happened once we read our open space plan and see what Berkshire Regional Planning recommended and warned us about flooding and about endangered species, and outlined where the ACEC was, and outlined so many areas for us to be aware of so that we could be careful as a town. You had all that information, and therefore I'm quite concerned that, still being in the role that you're in as a facilitator and having been in that position from the very beginning of this whole episode we're going through, that this would not be right for our town. I appreciate your saying if this would corrupt, perhaps you should bow out, but I'm curious about what you mean by corrupting the process, by being a part of it.
Well, if I could explain, if our role, my role, is the the flashpoint that get people to focus on, rather than the important things that a master plan can do, then I think that's what I mean by corrupting it. I and my organization should not be the focus. It's the things that a master plan does, like economic development, like infrastructure, like services, like housing, all the other aspects that make up a town. Those should be the focus of the town. The environment too, yes, but all the other aspects. The aspects of a master plan are interrelated, and that's the intent of a master plan, to look at the whole of the town, not just one particular area, and see how they're all integrated together. That should be the focus, not whether my organization is and did facilitate the rest of River Committee.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, so just my final comment is I just see this a huge conflict for the town. I don't know if it would be considered a conflict of interest, but since we are under negotiations on this whole project, it does not seem right to have Berkshire Regional Planning Commission involved. Thank you for your time.
Madam Chair, it looks like we do have Jim Castagnero back.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I finally figured this thing out. Yeah, I agree with Bob and Claire on this one. I mean, signing with Berkshire Planning, I mean, it's going to leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And I feel that, how come this wasn't bid out? Why was only one person notified to write a bid?
Because that's how it's usually done, Jim.
Aren't you supposed to bid this out? I mean,
if I could answer that, there's an aspect in the procurement law that allows towns to directly contract with the Regional Planning Commission.
That's their job.
It's not necessary to be bid out.
Well, I think we ought to just table this and look around, because I don't think Berkshire Planning is for us. We want somebody to work for Lee, and Berkshire Planning is not that. I mean, they did our conservation open planning thing 20 years ago, and obviously they didn't rate it because they were on the PCB dump thing there. So I say we don't sign this contract. It's like a slap in the face to the town people.
That it, Jim? Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy, go on.
Kathy Hall next, yep.
Okay, thank you. Well, I have a whole different perspective on this, because number one, not every single person in the town of Lee is upset with different aspects of the rest of the river. All of us, I can say, yes, we don't want the dump. However, all these other elements, they're clouding things. Lee is more than one issue. We have all these different things. And as Tom said, the master plan deals with so many things. I have been part of this democratic process in the town of Lee since 1974. I found that in a record somewhere, and I said, oh my God, I've been involved in this town all this time. And I have worked with Tom, not only in the open space and recreation plan, but I've also sat in many, many meetings over the last 5 years of the Berkshire Regional Task Force. And his organization, Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, they have done so much for Berkshire County in terms of getting data and focusing in on the big picture, not just one little sample. And we can't discourage this town from using people who have helped us over the years because of one issue. A facilitator is only supposed to be directing a meeting. A facilitator is not supposed to give opinions or anything. At least that's what I've learned from being on the school committee for 12 years, because we've had facilitators for our negotiations. So I'm all in favor of continuing to work with Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, because they know our communities. They know how to do these things. And most people, and Claire, I agree with you that many of the things weren't followed in the open space and recreation plan because people don't look at it. It's been on our town website. It is available in the town hall. People are not engaging in what this town is all about. Look and see, look at all the people that are here at this particular meeting. But if you went to any of the other meetings, there's like a handful of people. They're not engaged in what is happening in this town.
Then maybe we need to try different methodologies. This
Well,
town
we're
cares a
working on
lot about itself. We all care. So maybe we're not getting the messages in the same, in a
Well,
way that's contemporary.
Yes, but Barbara, I agree with you. However, caring doesn't mean just sitting and waiting for somebody to come to you.
That's exactly right.
It means going to these meetings, especially now that they're in Zoom. How hard is it to get on here on this program? We have to get up and we have to be visible. We have to speak up. We can't be intimidated by anything. And we can't have one issue clouding everything else. It's really important to get this master plan underway. And we already have a group that has shown that they have done their very best for Berkshire County and especially for Lee, Massachusetts. So I just want to be the other voice, showing a different perspective, because I've worked with Berkshire Regional Planning for a long time. And I've certainly sat in many, many different committees since 1974. So I care for this town, and I show up because I'm at meetings. I'm not waiting for people to call me and say, Kathy, what do you think about this? Or Kathy, will you sign that? I'm not waiting for that. I go and I try to understand what's going on in this town. So forgive me if I've spoken out of turn, but I just love this town. And I would certainly continue to work with Tom and his group at Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Madam Chair,
Kathy.
it looks like next is Cindy Mathis.
Hi, Kathy, I just want to say that everyone appreciates your love and work for the town, but I beg to differ with you. There will be no other issues once this dump comes and the cancer rates go through the roof and we have poisoned our reservoir and ruined the life of the town, because it will be a ghost town. People will not come to eat and sit outside in the town of Lee. Everyone will lose their livelihood. Okay, so I beg to differ on that. Now addressing Mr. Tom. If everything was on the up and up with the Berkshire Regional Planning Committee, why have you held back all the rest of the river minutes in secret since 2013 up
I'm
until
sorry.
6 months ago? Up
That's
until 6
Cynthia.
months ago, the minutes were not produced from 2013. That is a
Excuse me,
fact.
Cynthia, this is not a Rest of River meeting.
I'm
We're
just mentioning this is as part of why the
Well,
Berkshire
you're-
Planning Commission cannot have this contract. You need to bid it out and have somebody who's not involved in the process of bringing a toxic dump to Lee. Okay,
Cynthia,
Ms.
we are
Carlino?
not at a Rest of the River meeting.
There
And
is
that's enough
also-
discussion. That's enough discussion about that. And if you can't get to what we're talking about, then there's no sense in going on.
Buck Donovan works for them. There's a conflict of interest also.
Excuse me? Who? What was that remark?
There is a member of the planning board on the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission at all times from every town.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. I don't work for them. I am on their
Is this you,
board.
Buck?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yep, we all know that.
Please,
Cynthia.
please educate yourself, miss, and learn how things work.
Thanks, Buck.
We have Claire Leahy's hand up again.
Okay.
You got muted, Claire. Claire.
I have to just point out that we were not able to participate in this particular meeting. Kathy, there were many things that we would like that people can participate in because they're open meetings. But the decision that we're talking about, and it is relevant to Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, and is the fact that they were there, they were at that meeting, and it was not an open meeting, and they did not have our concerns at heart during that meeting, they could have provided some of the information, the technical information about the environment so that people could have made the right decision. If it had been an open meeting, we could have commented, but there was no chance to comment on this. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Claire.
I see no other hands at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. I'd like to call the question and have a vote on it as to whether to accept the BRTC's proposal to do a master plan, an open space and recreation plan at a cost of $65,000. Does anybody want to make that motion or no?
I have to say I'm a little torn on this, Patty, honestly, but
Yep.
you know, I don't think that, you know, there's so much going on here, but I think that we need to stay focused, and this is about the updating the master plan. So if I could just before we continue, could I ask Tom a couple? Is he still here?
Of course.
Yes.
I guess just help me understand, what's the function of Berkshire Regional Planning Commission? Just generally.
The function generally, our overall role.
Yes.
I mean, we serve the communities of Berkshire County in a lot of different ways. We serve as convener, facilitator, technical expert. Our agency has professional planners on staff on a number of different domains. We have transportation planners, we have economic development planners, housing planners, housing community development planners. We've been working we work with communities on a wide range of activities. We've been working in Lee on some of the brownfields, the mills that have been brownfields. We've worked with the Eagle Mill, trying to get that redeveloped. We work with towns on zoning issues. Most recently, we've been channeling out funds related to COVID and the economic recovery. It's a full service public agency we have, and as was mentioned, that we have representatives from each of the municipalities in Berkshire County. Our policy body is made up of members of planning boards, which are called our delegates, which is what Buck Donovan is the delegate from the town of Lee on our policy body. And then we also have alternate delegates, which are appointed by the select boards. Is that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, it seems like, I can't speak to why Williamstown didn't choose to go with BRPC. But it seems to me that we're not going to find somebody who's in the same relative budget that we're looking at to do this sort of service. So that's kind of why I'm sort of leaning towards accepting this agreement, because I just don't know that we're going to get the same bang for our buck if we go anywhere else. These two things that you're going to do for us, you're going to do concurrently. Maybe we can we can do a lot and be sort of efficient in that way. And it seems, reading through your proposal here, it seems very thorough, the process that you're engaged in. So I just don't know that we're going to find another company, a private company. I did make one contact, and I don't know if she made the meeting and is able to speak to any of this, but I did make a contact with a firm at Shop in Williamstown named Shop, and I don't know if Dana's here, but there are other places that are going to do this, and I'm I'm wondering
Yeah,
if,
sorry, Sean, I'm here.
okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we worked on the North Adams master plan and also just completed a master plan for Little Falls in New York on the Erie Canal. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses to every contract and situation, and you know, and I don't know enough of the proposal to be able to speak on that specifically, but you know, I think in our experience recently, there's been good collaboration between local partners and bringing in, you know, more regional or outside design teams to really push on the future of what places can be, and that's what was key at North Adams, and and I don't know if anyone's familiar with the New York State efforts along Reimagine the Canals, which is funded by the state government there. But you know, what is the next 100 years going to bring, and how do we really create vision for that long-term, you know, the long-term growth and development of these really amazing places like Lee. I have been to Lee a number of times, and it's such an incredible city with so much to offer, so much potential, but also, I mean, as it was brought up, some serious concerns about the environment. So all that to say is you know, I can't comment on cost and scope because I don't know what's in being proposed specifically, but that there are advantages to those the partnerships between local and you know, outside design companies to really push on and think about you know, the opportunities in the future of these places and of Lee.
I'm sorry, this is Pat Carlino. I missed both your name and your company when you first started talking.
Yes, I'm Dana Getman at Shop Architects. We did the master planning work in North Adams.
Okay.
And what did that cost the town of North Adams, just out of curiosity? Again, I think we already covered this, but.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't have the number.
Do you remember when it was done?
It was done. Yeah, it was done over. Sorry, my COVID brain right now. I learned about this call very last minute, so I apologize. I don't have the information in front of me, but I can provide it to you. I think we finished the master plan in 2016 or 17, but I am having a bit of COVID year brain.
Okay.
Dana, if I could ask, and maybe you don't have this answer, but how fast could you would you be willing to submit a proposal, and how fast could you turn that around if we were to table this discussion?
To be totally transparent, I'd have to review it with my partners and the scope, but usually we turn proposals in 1 to 2 weeks.
I do want to caution that would be subject to the procurement law, Sean.
Yeah.
Because of the dollar amount, it would be over 50,000. So you would need to do a full procurement for that.
Mm-hmm.
Advertising and so forth.
Correct.
So with that.
So if we can't just ask for one other company, we'd have to put it out actually for procurement. Yeah.
Okay. We do have a couple other hands up, Madam Chair, in this order of Gail, Jim, and Barbara.
Okay. Relevant to the contract in front of us, right? Gail, yes. Jim, and Barbara. Okay.
Yeah, just need to unmute Gail.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand this procurement situation. and if you could enlighten me, I would appreciate it. I'm just trying to figure out what's the advantage to just going to one organization? You don't have to advertise. I mean, it seems like a lot of money for one organization. I think they're, a good organization. I'm not happy about the dump. Everyone knows that. But it just seems to me when you're, dealing with a situation like this, that you might want to, look at other options, look at all your options instead of just one, especially since there is some division in the town. I don't know, could you please answer why we can just hire Berkshire Regional Planning versus we'd have to advertise if we went outside and
Because
explain it to me?
that is their job, Claire. I'm sorry, Gail. They help towns and cities in Berkshire County, and the law allows us to go to them because they're our organization that represents us. If you're going out and just hiring a company, yes, it would have to be subject to the procurement laws.
So there's something in our laws
In state
our
law.
town, it's a state law?
Yeah.
BRPC is a environmental governmental organization that receives state funding and so forth. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but so that's so the 50,000 that was allocated at town meeting for the master plan, then there was 15,000 for the open space and recreation plan. That was done in mind with a regional planning agency type budget like this. If we were to go out to bid, those are likely going to be over $100,000. So before we would bid that, and then hopefully, get our bids in, and if they are expected to come in over that, we would want to appropriate additional money at town meeting, so those bids would be relevant when we are able to start the process. Otherwise, if we got bids now and it was, again, over 100,000, we'd be waiting 6 months or longer before we could do anything with that, and we may have to go out and rebid again. So that was kind of allocated with an agency such as this in mind, price wise, and as Tom mentioned, that's because they are a somewhat governmental organization, we don't need to go out to bid for that. I hope that made sense, but
It doesn't really make sense to me, but I admit I just really don't get that. It seems like a nice sweet spot to be in.
Well, it is a sweet spot, and just to be very specific, the procurement laws fall under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, and within there's a specific exemption for regional planning agencies. This far predated me in my involvement in this, that allows municipalities to contract directly with regional planning agencies without going out to bid. It's just a simple provision in the law.
Okay. Well, so it was the town representatives at the last meeting that voted to approve this money towards open space plan?
Yes.
And I know this is a little bit off the point, but when are we switching over to each person in the town can have a vote?
Chris, you can probably explain that.
I don't know if we know exactly when, but
yeah, basically the legislature has voted on that bill. It's been signed by the governor, and the provision in that from the legislature was that it go to a referendum at our next town election. So at this point, there will be a ballot question. I believe it's May 16th at our town election that will ask every voter in Lee, do you want to switch from representative to open? If that vote is affirmative, then it will happen after that. But because we switched from open to representative by vote, when we petitioned the legislature, they wanted us to do the same thing to go back. So it is going to be a binding ballot question on May 16th, switching to open town meeting.
And so So say, for example, the town votes that they don't want the representative system, okay? So that will happen in May, which is about 4 months from now. And I'm just wondering, why do we have to make the decision now of who we hire? Or I just feel like the people, if you really want the people to voice their opinions, and the system it may go that way, then why do we have to make this decision now? Or is there like some kind of time frame thing going on that it has to be done now because you have to get money, or
We have to spend the money this year, Gail, because it was appropriated at town meeting. So we have to, well, we could not spend it, I guess, to your point, but
right. And
we'd
we
have
didn't
to
spend the money
we'd have
for
to
our lawyer, so you could choose not to spend the money.
We have to
too.
reappropriate the money if we were gonna, do this all over again.
Essentially, the town meeting doesn't select the vendor that we use. The town meeting appropriated the money, but I believe, and again, I was in a different role at that time, but it's my understanding that the $50,000 was appropriated. That amount was appropriated because that's what would be budgeted for a regional planning agency such as BRPC. So town meeting doesn't necessarily. There's the select board that would be selecting who we use, but the town meeting appropriated 50,000. That number was done because that's typically what a regional planning agency would charge versus an independent consultant, which is typically much higher. So
and why isn't
hopefully that clarifies.
Why isn't the open space meeting in that? I mean, it seems like it's separate. We all of a sudden have another 15,000. It's separate.
There were two appropriations.
Right.
But since they
because
both
they
came
set
up
it
the
up as
same
it's
year.
how you slice the dice, so to speak, slice the pie. It's two different appropriations. Is it always that way, or it just seems like a master plan automatically has open space and recreation in it because it is part of a master plan? But I have to admit, please educate me.
They're two different projects, Claire, so they have to be voted on individually.
I'm Gail.
I'm sorry, Gail.
That's okay. I like Claire. I'm fine with that, but yeah.
But they're not always done at the same time. It just so happens that we're catching up here.
Is there like a time frame? Is this stopping us from getting grants, not having this master plan?
Yes.
No. Oh, sorry.
I think yes, absolutely, because it's outdated, and it's old. So if we're writing grants for things referencing a 20-year-old, it's now over 20-year-old master plan, I think we're way less likely to get those grants if we were to update and
this is something that or you think.
I'm speculating.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to bring those kinds of issues up because it seems like, I don't know how many people actually show up to vote, maybe 1,000 people, and we have 4,000 potential voters. So, and I don't know how that gets broken out when there's a vote. Is it how many people vote in it? Is it tallied by how many people who actually come out to vote, if that's the choice? Or is it, determined like if 2/3 of the people don't show up to vote? Is that calculated in the number? I mean,
I'm going to jump in here, Chris. It's who's there that day and voted or voted by absentee. That's where the
okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right.
If we're going back to
I just don't understand why
open-
it couldn't be tabled for another 5 months if there is. I have nothing against Berkshire Regional Planning, believe me. It just seems like there's some people who do have a problem with this, and it'd be good if it was brought to the town, because I'm sure that you'll get a wide range of opinions about everything.
Well, this
that we're talking about.
question would not be on the ballot.
The open town meeting question would be on the ballot, but the town meeting wouldn't select a vendor. They would only allocate the money. So if the town meeting wanted to appropriate an additional $50,000 or $100,000, then they could do that, giving us a larger budget to go to other vendors.
So you're saying basically if we went to another vendor, we would be paying a lot more?
You don't know. We don't
Well,
know.
based upon what we got so far.
Most likely. I mean, we can't get, we based on the data we have from other towns, that's what we know.
So in essence, eventually it's the select board that makes the decision of who gets hired.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think there's some things to consider. I hope you guys look at the bigger picture that was, quoted by Kathy, because there is a big picture here going on, and I don't know. I don't know how you can, whatever. All right, go ahead.
I think Jim was next.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yep.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about a master plan for a while now, and I think Sean's got the right idea. Put this out to bid, and let's do this right. And, let's keep it above the board, because, there's a lot of heartache in this town. And I agree there's other things going on in this town, but people in my district 1 and 2 here, all we think about is this dump poison us for the next 150 years and our future families. So that's all we have on our plate. We don't care about anything else going on in this town. Okay, I just wanted to say that. But I think he's got the right idea. We should put out the bid. If we have to wait 6 months or get more money, let's keep it honest. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else, Chris?
Barbara.
Okay.
You just need to unmute, Barbara.
There we are.
There we go.
Hi. I also want to suggest that we interview other firms. I think Lee's at a crossroads. We have an exquisite town with beautiful resources. And now is our opportunity to become part of the region. And, we are the one place that has a stop on the Mass Pike. We're the Berkshire entranceway, the gateway. Let's use it to our advantage. Let's figure out all of our assets and incorporate them into our lifestyle. It's our turn to be the best town in the Berks. Let's make it so. Let's open this process up.
And one last hand from Claire Leahy.
Yes, I just wanted to point out that this is only 5 years since the last open space and rec plan. I guess there was a master plan 20 years ago, which was everything else, possibly included the open space and rec plan. But the open space and rec plan, we started doing it every 5 years back in 2005, maybe. We have that so we can apply for grants. We wouldn't be able to apply for state grants if we didn't have that open space and rec plan up to date. Last time we did it 5 years ago, BRPC was able to get a $19,000 grant to help us with that. What are the chances of getting a grant now? And I guess Tom would be the one to answer that.
There are certainly grant programs that are out there. There is one specifically for open space and recreation plans. I don't know the dollar amount that they're offering now, but there could be grants that are available. Sure.
And who applied for that the last time?
I don't remember, Claire. I mean, I typically, I probably the town was the official applicant, but how we work with towns is that we'll help with applications. So most likely, and please don't quote me on this because it was a long time ago and I don't remember, but most likely we drafted the application on behalf of the town.
I believe that's what happened 5 years ago because we we had your services at that time without, I believe, any addition to our budget on the last plan. And I'm being a part of writing, those plans, those plans over the years. Do
Yes, you
not
were in-
recall being a part of applying for a grant for that. We did apply for a Parks and Rec grant for the athletic field.
And we helped with
on the open space plan that we did with you 5 years ago.
And we helped with that application as well, right? My staff helped with that application, yes.
Yes, they did help with the application for the grant, and I don't remember exactly how much that was for, but I worked with Kathy on that one. But the open space plan, the grant for the open space and rec plan, I think came through your staff applying for it for us. And perhaps you worked with some of the selectmen or other organizations, but I don't recall you coming to the youth commission to apply for that grant.
Yeah, I don't believe we did go to the youth commission. It would have been maybe the conservation commission or the selectmen, as you mentioned. I don't remember it, Claire.
It'd be interesting to know if the conservation commission was part of that, or the planning board was part of that application. That's wonderful that Berkshire Regional Planning Commission did that, but I'm getting the feeling that things are changing. It's changed a lot since 5 years ago.
Well, we still work with communities on that way. We work with the communities on a number of different grants. As I said, we're working right now on some our brownfield cleanup type grants in the town of Lee. So we still do that work.
Well, I would like to make the suggestion to the selectmen that we look at applying for a grant to do the open space recreation part of the plan, just as we have done in the past. See what's available out there from the state. There's no reason not to apply for that.
If it's available, we can find it, Claire.
What's that?
If it's still available and we can find it.
I would think that Tom would know whether or not they're available. He just said that they are certainly, I thought he said that there were grants available for open space plans. It's just a matter, there's a lot of grants out there that we have to look for and research. But this is one that should be pretty easy to find and look into. And at the same time, you could be going out for doing an RFP and comparing the two, then see where we're at. As far as the master plan goes, that's something I don't know about town master plans. They're separate from the open space and rec plans. And it was 20 years ago. So I don't know if Tom could tell us whether or not there's grants available for that part of the plan. They're two separate plans. One's the master plan and one's the open space and rec plan. Correct?
There are grants that are available for master plans as well. The trick will be, when is the application process? When are they awarded? And the timing and all that. I mean, it doesn't fall neatly into place all the time. So that would be something to, consider.
I'm thinking that if the only reason that we're in a time limitation is because it's in the budget for this year. I really think that could be reallocated somewhere else and look towards the future doing this plan.
Okay.
Waited 20 years for one. The other one has to be completed this year in order to be able to get grant.
Claire, to be truthful, we've been addressed quite a few times from people who have been after us to get the master plan done, get the open space done. It needs to be done. It needs to be done. So we put it on the agenda, the warrant, to have money appropriated to get it done. And that's what we're just going along, trying to get it done as we can. If everybody wants to put it off and wait, that's fine.
Tom, if I could ask, if we put this out for RFP, does your proposal become null and void?
I don't know if it's null and void. You don't have to accept it.
Okay.
So if you do a full RFP, we would probably have to resubmit
Right.
this, and we would submit it differently. I mean, because your full RFP, you're going to want to ask for qualifications. You're going to want to ask for more information than what I gave you. I gave you a scope of work, a relatively simple scope of work that I was asked to provide. I didn't respond to a full RFP.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sean, you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's, you know, I didn't realize that this was going to be this hard. I think that I think that BRPC is a great entity. I don't have any problems with them. I think that, you know, the stigma is sort of a little misunderstood of your supposed involvement. And I do want to get this going and underway, and you know, we've kind of put this off for a few meetings here, and I think that yeah, I'm to be honest, Patty, I'm sorry, I'm really torn on whether or not we should go and seek out, you know, RFP, and I'm wondering how long. I mean, we're talking about months that's going to take, so that's kind of where I'm scratching my head if we can, you know, if that's the right course of action to take, or if it's just to accept this proposal and get, you know, commence the process right now. So that's kind of what I'm mulling over. So I don't know if you have anything else to add, or Bob.
You know, interestingly enough, I'm hearing that people, we all want the same thing. We all know we want to work on the master plan and open space and recreation. There's no question about that, and we all know it needs to be done. And this discussion about the dump, it's going to come up again in other conversations. It's a major concern for the people in town, and this isn't again, I don't want to point fingers at Berkshire Regional Planning alone, but it is a major concern from people I'm hearing from, and maybe I can help us along, unless there's anybody else in the public who wants to make any comments. I'll make a motion that we that the town of Lee puts together an RFP for firms to bid on a open space recreation plan and a master plan for the town of Lee. I don't know if I should include in the plan that we look for funding or grants, or whether we should make that a separate motion. But I'll leave it at that. Then I'll make a motion for an RFP. The town of Lee put together an RFP for firms to work on the master plan, an open space plan, and master plan.
Yeah, I'll second that, Bob.
Okay. All those in favor?
Bob Jones, aye.
Sean Renier, aye.
Pat Carlino, nay. So we'll have to go through the let's see, the process by which, I don't know that we can go out for an RFP without having the money. So we'll just have to figure that out, whether we need to do that first or what, but we can get it done and it'll take place whenever it takes place. Tom, I appreciate you coming tonight. You're very helpful.
Well, thank you, Patty. And I appreciate the opportunity to, participate. I look forward to working with the town.
Okay.
Again, I think Lee is, as was stated, a very important town in Berkshire County, and hope for the best.
Thanks. Okay. Okay, the next order of business. Are we done with this? I know we're not changing.
Yeah, we took a vote.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, so the next order of business is the Appalachian Trail Community Committee discussion. I don't know that we have much more information, although we do have, I believe, 4, Cindy, people who have gotten in touch with us and said they would be interested in serving.
We're actually up to seven people right now.
Okay, I don't have all of them.
Including, I believe, yeah. So Debbie Cranwell is here as well, who initially brought this to the board.
Okay.
And we actually met today to look at the application and essentially, so those 7 people are interested. One of the recommendations we may want to consider is to appoint an ad hoc committee for the application. At the end of the day, the town's going to submit the application, but there's a number of questions that will involve, it would be good to involve other stakeholders in this. So if we are accepted as an Appalachian Trail community, we would have to have a permanent committee, and they would need to do certain things each year. There's an educational component to it. There's a service program and so forth. So part of those, the ideas for those are part of the application. And so my recommendation would be to appoint an ad hoc committee to give suggestions to that application of what sort of projects they might see the town of Lee doing. Then we can submit it, and if it's accepted, they could be moved into a permanent committee appointed by the board. So, and I know Debbie's here if she wanted to mention anything else about it. I think you should be all set, Debbie. It looks like you're unmuted. We don't hear you though.
Okay. Okay. So at this point in time, would we contact the people who have contacted us and ask if they'd be willing to serve on this ad hoc committee?
Yeah, if the board would like, I'd be happy to reach out to them again, confirm that they're still interested, and then have a motion ready for the meeting on January 18th. The target would be to have that application ready for a September 1st deadline. And that would probably get us the designation in early 2023, so which we would then form the full committee for that.
Bob, Sean, are you on board with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. Debbie, if you can hear what we're saying, somebody will be giving you a call. Oh, what's that?
Yeah, so I will follow up with them and
Okay.
have it on the agenda for January 18th to
And
appoint that committee. And then again, there's certain parts the town can do, but there's a lot of sections on there that it would be good to engage those people interested in
Right.
in that
And,
application, as well as parts for the Conservation Commission and Historical Commission will be, we'll need to reach out to them as well for the applications.
Okay, so, and you still have, this is on the website, so anyone that's interested can go on and read about it. And call our office if you're interested in serving on the committee. We'll keep it open until filled. Everybody all right with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is appointments to the Conservation Commission. We put this off while you were gone too, Bob. We have one permanent commissioner that is not on anymore. So we have, and the committee has sent us a recommendation. They're asking that Mark Navin be appointed to take the place of the person who's not there anymore. And Claire Leahy could join as an alternate. She'd have no voting capabilities at this time, but she certainly could be an alternate.
To be clear, Patty, if there was a regular board member not present at a meeting, Claire would be able to vote.
I'm not sure, Bob, because I don't believe there's any state law that covers that, but we could check on that.
Yeah, certainly when I was on zoning boards, the alternate was able to vote if there were a regular member were not present.
All right, well, we'll verify that before we say okay.
Yeah, the state law just says a maximum of a 7-member board, but doesn't specifically address alternates and that, and nor does our town bylaws as to anything specific to alternates. But
if I may, I'm just curious. I see this in notation in front of me about the applicants. And is there anybody from did the Conservation Commission vote on this? I mean, did they tell us as a board they wanted Mark Navin, or is it just the chairperson saying this, or the administrative assistant, or is there somebody from the Conservation Commission who's able to speak to this?
I don't know. Is anybody on tonight? I was told no, that they sent this on behalf of the board. I don't know if anybody's here.
I don't see any Conservation Commission members here. If you are and can raise your hand, we can call on you, but I don't recognize any of the names here as members, so.
No, I guess I'm just curious because did we receive anything specifically from Mark Navin on his qualifications or?
The board did.
Yeah.
Conservation Board.
Right. But we don't. We're the ones who have to make the vote, so I'm just curious as to.
I don't believe we did, Bob. I don't believe it got to our office. I'm not positive that I didn't see anything.
Yeah, the 2 resumes in the last packet were from Claire Leahy and from Gail Cerisia.
Okay.
That correspondence was sent from the Conservation Commission. I did try to follow up a couple times with the chair, but wasn't able to reach them. So.
But we haven't received anything about Mark Navin other than the commission telling us that they recommend him. Is that correct?
Not to my knowledge. That's normal, though. That's the way it normally happens. Very rarely do we have more than what we need that apply.
I hear you there.
Yeah, Patty, I'd make a motion to appoint Mark Navin to the Conservation Commission as a commissioner, and Claire Leahy to the Conservation Commission as an alternate.
I'll second
Madam Chair, I
that.
just want to let you know there's 2 hands up as well.
Oh.
Like to
Okay.
take comments. One from Jim.
Yes, can you hear me? Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, I just had a question. Is the Conservation Board, is that do they run, or is that a volunteer board?
Volunteer, Jim.
Volunteer, okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
And then Cindy.
Yeah, I would like to know what the process was, because what Claire Leahy was told that she didn't have enough experience, but Mark doesn't have any experience, and Gail has the most experience of anybody in this entire world to be on the Conservation Commission. She wasn't even looked at. Her application was just discarded for the best person that could possibly be on that committee. This makes no sense if it's all run by volunteers.
Okay. I can't tell you. I don't have an answer for that, Cindy.
Well, I think we should look into it before we clap our hands.
If you let me finish, Gail's application came in quite late. The other 2 applications came in before that, had been vetted by the Conservation Commission and passed along to us. And then Gail sent her resume in.
Right, and that was 2 weeks ago, and we discussed that it was going to be spoken about. But you then take Mark Navin, and you don't even know his qualifications, and they were told Claire. Claire has so much experience. She's a brilliant woman. She studies things. She doesn't speak unless she has all the facts. And you're just going along with this? No, you got to stop it and say, we're going to look into it, and we want to know about Mark.
Well, I don't know about the other 2. I know Mark.
You don't know a lot about things. You always say you don't know, you don't know.
Thank you. Thank you.
One last hand from Kathy Hall.
Well, I know both Claire and Mark, and I've worked with Claire for a very long time. And I will agree, she is a brilliant woman and knows so much. But I also know Mark. He's a former student of mine. I also worked with him. He helped me coach my academic teams. He is a college graduate. He does extensive research on so many things. So I'm sure whatever he sent in and Claire sent in to the Conservation Commission, that they made their decision and recommendation to this board. Both are wonderful, wonderful people. They are so knowledgeable, and they do focus on whatever issue it is and research it to the nth degree. So I'm just here to say that both of these candidates are wonderful, wonderful people, and they will do well by the town of Lee on the Conservation Commission.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay. Oh.
Patty, if I may, I just say, do we want to give the applicants themselves an opportunity to weigh in? I'd like to hear something if.
Who's here? They all here?
I have Gail here and Claire. I'm just looking. I don't believe we have Mr. Navin here. But if you are, if you could raise your hand, Mark. But I do have Claire here with her hand up if you'd like to speak with.
That's fine.
I'd just like to say that Gail has the most experience of anybody here as far as conservation, and she's the person that can go out and really recognize wetlands and understands all the issues that are going on, and is very, very interested and has in-depth knowledge, and actually has a certification, probably has more experience than anybody on that commission. So I just want to say that. And as far as myself goes, I just have been attending the Conservation Commission meetings because there's many things that I find of interest. And I've been doing a lot of research of the codes and so on, trying to just see how I could be involved. I appreciate your considering me, but I would hate to see Gail just looked over like that. That's very concerning. Thank you.
Okay, Gail, are you on?
Hello, hi.
Oh, there you are.
I also think that Claire is a really good candidate. If you're gonna consider my application late, I didn't realize there was a deadline, but if there is one, fine. But I think that this is a real indication, I mean, to select someone who doesn't have any experience dealing with regulations, who is, I don't really know who the person is, quite honestly, but he's not here tonight to defend his interest. And I think that Claire is a perfect candidate. Part of the reason one of the reasons I even signed up was because there was some comment about Mark having more experience. And undeniably, neither of the other two candidates have the experience I have, which is, I don't know what to say. I'm a professional wetland scientist. I'm a registered sanitarian. I have more qualifications than anyone on the board. So that should be thrown out the window. Okay. And I think that it's nice that you asked the board, but I think you should be looking. I'm trying, please. Sorry, my computer went down and I have to have it hooked to a battery right now, to a plug right now. So it can't be in a separate room. But what I'm trying to say is that I think you should really seriously consider Claire, because she shows a great interest in our town. And also she has run the tennis club and has shown that she is interested through her actions. And so if you're not going to consider me because I put my letter in the day, 2 weeks ago, then fine. But I think you should really reconsider, consider who actually is active and has done things for the town for a long time and is well versed in the regulations, has shown that she is. And I can't help but think that, these boards are really a buddy-buddy system if you don't select someone who has the most knowledge or who shows the most activity. So that being said, I really do hope you put Claire on. Thank you. If you're not going to accept the person that is the most knowledgeable.
Okay. I'd like to ask you a question, because
sure,
this hardly ever happens, Gail, that we have more people apply than are needed. So the names went to the Conservation Commission quite a while ago. They were presented to us. We would accept them, but then we skipped a week. Due to some personal issues. So what if we had to skip that week and we had put in Mark Navin and Claire, and then a week later you sent in your letter, but there's no position? I'm just trying to, how long do we, so now you've put your name in, now we have, and it didn't go to the Conservation Commission, I don't believe. I think it just came to us, right?
I sent it to the Conservation Commission at the same time that I sent it to you.
Oh, okay. So they did have a copy after the meeting.
And I tried to contact Kathy also, the person who does the administrative work for them.
Okay.
And
Well-
there is no phone numbers for anybody else on site, on the website to talk to.
At
Or
the
else I would have
conservation.
called Kathy. I would have called Kathy Arment, but I didn't have her phone number.
Okay. All I can tell you is that we were given the recommendation by the Conservation Commission for those two people at the time. And then your resume came in after. And yes, you are well qualified, very well qualified, undeniably. I'm just saying that hardly ever do we get more members than we need on a committee. And I hesitate to change that practice at this time. I would suggest, if you're still interested, that you leave your resume on file if another opening comes up.
I'm fine with doing that, but I still urge the board to look at the full picture. You know, I really do.
Okay, thank you.
We have a couple hands, Madam Chair, starting with Janice. I don't know if you're there, Janice, just to unmute. The next one on the list would be Jim.
I'm here.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Everybody. First of all, I like to, people that volunteer, I give them a lot of credit. They put their, time in, they don't get paid, and they really care about the community. My question is, I know Mark David, I know Claire Leahy, and I know Gail. All three of them are great people. They're all very nice people, but I would think you would take the most qualified person out of anybody for somebody that's volunteering. Second of all, which would be Gail. Second of all, how many people are on this committee? If they're all volunteering, why can't they all be on the committee? Why do you have to have just a certain amount of people on a committee if you have other people that want to volunteer their time? That's my question. And I think, maybe you should table this and go back to the Conservation Commission and let them all reapply or whatever and have them pick the most qualified person. Again, I like them all, and I don't understand why they all can't be on it if they choose to.
Actually, Janice, they can't all be on it. They're limited to 7 voting members. They can't have any more.
Why is that?
By law.
State law.
That's crazy. I mean, it's ridiculous. These laws need to be
There's a
changed.
state law that gives a maximum and minimum for Conservation Commission. It's a state law that governs that, not a town bylaw or anything.
Well, that's ridiculous. We need to change the state law. If you have people that want to volunteer, they should be able to volunteer. That's just what I think, But I think, if I was interviewing people, I would take the most qualified person that knows the job and that can do the best. That's what I would do. But I do give them all credit for wanting to volunteer, and I hope you make the right choice. Thank you.
Jim, are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I think they're all great people. Maybe we ought to start thinking about like doing 3-year terms, like we do everything else. I mean,
they do. We have terms, Jim.
So if somebody has a 3-year term here, can somebody else take their place?
It's advertised all the time.
Is it? Okay. So every year, I'm sure every year there's a couple openings every year.
I don't know how it works, whether it's 2.
But now how do they choose those people if there's 3 people?
Same way. Whoever interested sends in a resume or a letter to the board of the Conservation Commission, and then they make recommendations to us.
Yeah, but our board is volunteers. So let's say so-and-so is on there for 10 years. Now his term's up now. Can't you elect these people? Or, I mean, I don't know how to make it fair for everybody. I might want to join the Conservation Committee. I think I might.
You can submit your.
Send in a letter.
Yeah, exactly. You can submit your letter.
They probably won't let me on there, so. You
Don't let me on either, Smiley.
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a way to make it fair for everybody. That's all. Thank you.
Well, there are 3-year terms, right? Just
Yeah.
like there were on the youth commission. And we
Yeah.
we were trying to make sure that we always had one person up for replacement, just so we could continue with, you have the one person retiring every 3 years or up for reappointment every 3 years, so that you can keep some of the older
Continuity?
members only having one. Say that again.
Continuity and
Some
history.
continuity. Thank you. Hard time with words. So
and
anyway, we do need to know when somebody's term is up, so that
It's always
people-
advertised, Claire.
that when there's an opening, yes,
Yeah.
that was advertised. But if they choose not to, if they choose to continue, then that's their choice. There's no no chance for somebody to apply at the end of a 3-year term and say, I'm interested.
That probably has proven true. As I said, very seldom do we get more than enough people to want to be on the committee.
Times are changing. Times are changing, I think. So I'm just thinking this is something we should look at when somebody's term is coming up. It should be advertised on the website that there is a position that's up for grabs, and send in your letter of application, and it's up to the selectmen to review the appointments. Or they certainly can take recommendations and send it back to the particular commission or committee. That would be the proper thing to do, but the selectmen should be the ones that make the final decision.
Agree.
Okay.
I would think you'd want to table it to make sure that the park, the Conservation Commission has had a chance to review all the letters of application. It seemed like there was one person that was out there to be the reappointment, but it was advertised, so a couple of us heard about it, and there was no deadline stated. So as far as it being postponed for a couple of meetings, I don't see what effect that would have on just putting it off for another.
And what is the purpose of postponing it for a couple of meetings?
So that it can be considered by all 3 letters can be looked at by the Conservation
I believe they
Commission.
were.
Ask them to please review that.
And I'd have to disagree with that. They have read all 3 letters and they have made their decision.
I thought you.
Bob, Sean, you're thinking?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Sean.
Bob. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the only thing that is bothering me is I would like to see the letter from Mark Navin. That's all. I would love to see that in order for me to make a fair decision. And I think in the interest of full transparency, that the letters be made available, well, you say the conservation has it, but I think they should be available to us. I have seen Gail's and Claire's, and I'm sure Mark Navin is a great guy. I'll take your word for it, but I would like to see what he has to say and what his qualifications actually are.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And I could get that information as well as what the current terms are if the board would like.
Right.
See which terms are expiring. As you mentioned, Patty, we seldom, usually they come back up. If there's nobody else, they're reappointed, but there are terms that it will expire
Right.
in the near future. So,
And just something to think about for the future, if this should begin to be something, we will have to make sure that these committees put a deadline on when they want resumes. Because you can't just keep it open forever in the hopes that somebody comes along.
Mm-hmm.
And so at least if you have dates, deadlines, and nobody applies, well, then you go out and try to get it again. But just
And
something,
Patty,
yeah.
if I may, Patty, I'd also, if they have anything to say about the individual applicants in regard to their recommendations, I would like to hear that from the Conservation Commission, just rather than just submitting a name and saying this is who we recommend. I'd like to hear their reasoning. They are the Conservation Commission, and if they give us nothing, then I think we know where we stand there.
Okay, we can ask. Yes, okay.
There's a couple other hands up. Cindy, I believe you were next.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bob, for your thoughtfulness. And as Patty said, there was no actual deadline. I just want to say that I really, truly believe why Gail and Claire were not chosen, because they're two outspoken people against the PCB dump. And I don't know Mark. I've never seen him at a meeting. I don't know where he stands. And I would think that he probably doesn't care, and that's why he was chosen to be a quiet person on the Conservation Committee, which is an extremely important committee that has to do with the dump. So that's my opinion, and I do think we should know the reasons why they chose him over Claire, and to have them relook at all three candidates and pick the best man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gail, did you still have your hand up?
Yeah, I just was curious because at first I thought the comment was that I didn't even get considered by the board. I didn't go to they met last night, right? The board.
Conservation? I have no idea.
I think they met.
No, they meet on Wednesdays.
Tomorrow.
Oh, Wednesdays. Okay, it used to be Mondays. All right. So, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, so they haven't even had a chance to look at.
I believe they have, Gail. I believe they've read.
I thought you said that they hadn't met since I submitted the.
I think.
No, I don't think I said that.
Yeah, I think, Gail, what was said was that they had made these recommendations to us before you had submitted, which was kind of why we're here and have their recommendation here sitting in front of us. So I would, I've made a motion, Patty. I don't know if there was a second.
To appoint?
Yes.
And I believe I seconded because nobody else spoke up.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to call for a vote. All those in favor?
Sean Renier, aye.
Pat Carlino, aye.
Bob Jones, nay.
You are so corrupt, Patty Carlino.
Chris, did you mute that, please? Okay. Okay. Town administrator. We have no pending business. We have town administrator's report.
Yeah, so the revenue and expense reports ending December 31st are available on your desks. We will have, by the February meeting, hopefully a first proposal for ARPA funding to come to the board. We also did add a new section to the website with town meeting petition information that went up today. And I've also been in contact with the finance committee chair to begin setting up the budget meetings for that for FY23. Lastly, I just wanted to mention we had a lot of questions from residents about COVID test kits. The state had allocated COVID test kits to towns in the Commonwealth it wasn't anything that the town applied for or that the town had any say in, but the state allocated them based on the population in town that was below the federal poverty level. So Lee was not eligible for those. So Tri-Town has been doing drive-through testing. And they'll continue to do that whenever we have spots available. We have right on the town website, there's a red banner right at the very top where you can sign up for the drive-through testing. So we'll continue to offer that. Again, we're 3 or 4 towns in Berkshire County that did get the kits. Lee was not one of those. Again, it wasn't any say that we had. It was just strictly based on data from the state. But we are aggressively looking at acquiring kits, hopefully in the near future, through another method. And as soon as we do have that in place, we'll get that information out as well. But in the meantime, again, there's a red banner at the top. As soon as Tri-Town gets more tests in, we keep adding those drive-through testing, and it's a pretty quick process. You sign up online for a half-hour slot, and then they email you the results afterwards. So that is all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay. Sean, Bob, you got anything else before we leave?
No.
Okay, then I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Sean Renier, aye.
Bob Jones, aye.
Pat Carlino, aye. Thank you, Chris.